They don't tell you how to live your life. They don't tell you that you're not going to be able to go back to that job you had. They don't tell you that you're not going to be able to afford that house you worked so hard for. They tell you go to cognitive therapy. And you go to cognitive therapy and you go so diligently because you're just like, somebody's going to get me back to what I was. I can do that. And you can't. And that is so frustrating. But anyway, so you go to the cognitive therapy and you do the little math problems and you do the word problems and you do what they tell you to do and you do the homework they send you home with. And you do and you do and you do. And I did that for over a year. I had to leave my job because I couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't multitask. So the cognitive therapy just became redundant. I'm not seeing any big successes coming from this or even little successes coming from this at this point. So I'm just gonna go. So I stopped the cognitive therapy. Ooh, that was a bad idea. Because then I ended up in my bed for a year face down trying to figure out why this happened to me. Why did this happen to me? Why is my life in ruins? Why did everything I worked so hard for get taken away from me? Why can't I be the mom I was? Why can't I be the wife I was? So, and you get stuck there. It's a really dark place. It's really dark. There's no balloons or clowns or anything in there. So, I decided one day that I didn't want to live that way anymore. Being...
Sorry.
That's okay.
Maybe it's fine. Come on over here.
Being angry was not productive. Being angry wasn't getting me anywhere or any kind of lifestyle that I would want to live. And I didn't want to get so angry that I didn't want to live. So one day I decided, you know what? I think I should take a math class at the community college. I need to get out of the house. And I need something that's going to challenge me a little bit. And I hate math, by the way. I've hated it my whole life. My dad's a math genius. Math genius can do anything in his head. And I'm just like, yeah, 2 + 2 is 4. Leave me alone. That's all I want to know. Okay. So I took this math class. I had to go to class 3 days a week, 2 hours each time. The drive was a 35-minute drive from my home. And I'd get up and I'd get dressed and I'd go. And at first I really didn't like it and I didn't think I was going to finish it. But then, McDonald's has those egg McMuffins. I haven't had one of those in a while. It's not right to drive through, right? They have these really good smoothies too now. This mixed berry thing. Ooh, those are good. And then after class it was, well, let me see what so-and-so's doing. Maybe we can grab some lunch. Or let me go back to Starbucks and get me a coffee. Well, I gotta run to the grocery store. Well, maybe I can have lunch with my son before he goes to practice. So it started to happen as a wheel. The wheel was turning. I'm doing this math class. I'm communicating with other people. They don't see it. They don't know what I've been through. They don't know what's there. So they don't know the before me, which I keep comparing myself to, which is also detrimental to your recovery. Any brain injury, if you know that you can't function the same way that you did before whatever brain injury you have happened, tell yourself that's okay. Please, every day tell yourself it's okay because I'm still here and I can still do the things I like to do and I can still spend time with the people that I love and they can spend time with me.
What I struggle with though is a lot of people don't see that. A lot of people don't support you with that.
Which part of that?
Seeing that you've changed.
You say they don't see it, they don't recognize it.
Yeah, they either don't accept it or they don't see that you can't do what you used to be able to do. They expect you to be that same person.
Because people who haven't been in a brain injury situation do not have the capacity to understand what we go through in 100%, 150%, 90%, 80%, 70%, whatever you want to say. They don't have it. They can't. It's impossible. But it is also impossible for us to know how they feel because we haven't been the caregiver. So it's a communication thing. So I know when I feel like I'm not being heard or I'm having a bad day, I will tell my caregivers, today really sucks. You know why? Because it took me 15 minutes to figure out what cruise I went on with my son a year and a half ago. How can I not remember where I went? well, I didn't realize it took you 15 minutes to, get that. Okay, well, thanks for just hearing that part of it. It's okay for them to hear it. They're not gonna understand it. But I think it's also very important that you communicate it to them every chance you get, And there are times when caregivers will tell us, oh yeah, I heard you, whatever. And then you feel like, well, I guess I shouldn't talk about that anymore. I guess talking about this frustrates you, and I'm sorry that I want to keep going over what happened to me in my life to try to figure it out or to try to become more comfortable with it. So I think these groups are extremely important for people to have, so that you can look at me and say, you know what, my caregiver doesn't understand me. Right there with you, I got you, I totally get it. Music helps me. Journaling helps me. Boy, my journaling, people got a hold of my journal and saw what I really said in there. Like, she is the most unpositive person I've ever met in my life. Like, she needs a straitjacket. But that's mine. Nobody can take that away from me. So when I feel dark, and I feel dark a lot more often than people would think, just write it down, let it go. Just, it can stay right there. But there are also days where that darkness, I'll get you in just a second, that darkness takes over. And it just lingers and it holds on to you. And those are the days that I usually just stay in bed and Netflix and chill with my dogs, because that's all I know how to do. But I also tell myself that it's okay that I have those days. Instead of saying, well, you used to get up and jump and go and do and be and see, and you were running 16-hour days, and now you gotta take a nap every 3 hours. Like, what is that? That's my life now. And that's okay. It's totally okay. And as long as I'm okay with it, my caregivers are gonna learn to be okay with it, or I don't have to have them around. That's the bottom line. If you feel like there's somebody in your life that is bringing you down based on the injury that you have, and you've done everything you can, and they've done everything they can to help each other figure it out together, and it's still a burden and it's still a stress on you 100% of the time, or a large amount of the time, it's okay to say, you know what, I think I might need a different kind of caregiver. And it's okay to say that. Don't shut people out of your life or anything like that, but it's okay. Maybe I don't just need one caregiver, maybe I need two. Maybe it's gonna take two people to help me. Maybe one is more emotional supportive and the other one is more physical supportive. And that's okay too. It doesn't all have to be one person.
Sometimes people that you know and people that don't know you but know who you are, it's like the reason they don't understand you is because they don't want to open up their mind's eye and see what's going on. And you can ask Morgan about my poetry. She thought I was suicidal.
Yeah, I get it. We can write
And
some
bro,
pretty
she's not the
serious
only doctor that's thought that,
stuff.
or at least therapists that's thought that, because how I write. I've been writing off and on since '97, but after the accident, a lot of my poetry, I basically talk about it in poetry about killing myself. Because, you know, it's my release, that way I can avoid doing it, but the thoughts have been there.
I don't think it's abnormal, and I'm not a psychologist or a medical professional under any way, shape, form, whatever, but I can tell you that I've had my own set of suicidal thoughts surrounding that before my surgeries, when I was living with all of that pain. I used to drive with my eyes shut on my way home from work sometimes because I hurt so bad. And I was just like, God, please let whatever needs to happen, happen, because I can't do this anymore. So I've been there, and I was there when I was in that year of depression, trying to figure out why my life wasn't the way it was when I had worked so hard for it to be a certain way. And every so often on a dark day it might happen, but just because you think it doesn't mean you have to do it. Just because you think it doesn't mean you feel it, you just think it. And when you get into that mind frame of comparing yourself to what you used to be versus what you are now, it's easy to go the dark way, much easier to go the dark way than to say, you know what, so what? So what, it takes me 3 or 4 more steps to do something that I used to do like that. So I can still do it. I can still do it, and I bet you I can do it better than so-and-so over here. Or I bet you if I try to do it 15 times a day for a month, I can get a little quicker. So you challenge yourself. Don't challenge other people. Challenge yourself. That's how you're gonna better yourself.
Well, that's how you challenge other people, by challenging yourself.
They see it after you do, right? So you challenge yourself and you grow and you evolve and you become better, and the people around you start to see that. Oh, how'd you do that? Oh, well, I did this, 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 and this. Oh, well, that's pretty cool. And that's okay. So, all right, story, where was I? I like all your questions, thank you. I really enjoy that. Most people wait till the end, and I think this is awesome. So, where was I? So, home, cognitive therapy, depression, oh yeah, math class. So, I took that math class, I got a big fat A. I got an A in math in college. What just happened? How did that happen? Holy crap! All right, well. So I got an A and I learned how to focus again for shorter amounts of time. Not what I could before, but for, 2 hours at a time, I could focus, which was really awesome. That meant I could watch a movie. Now I can't remember what the hell movie I just watched, but I can watch it. So, I passed that math class. I decided I could go back to work part-time doing something different than what I was, something maybe that doesn't require a whole lot of multitasking. I went and I worked in a pain clinic for a year. That's not my kind of place. And if anybody tells you a receptionist job is not multitasking, they are lying. Because that's what I was doing. I was multitasking by being a receptionist. I thought I was just going to make appointments and collect copays. No, that's not it. So I left the pain clinic and I went and I continued to work part-time at Rex Hospital in Raleigh in the labor delivery department. I did the bedside registration. You wanna know how fun it is to register a woman who is in active labor? Hey, can I get your insurance card? Yeah, no, okay. I'll come back, thanks so much, appreciate that. So I did that for about 2 years, and I realized no matter how hard I tried and how hard I competed with myself, I couldn't manage my home life and my work life at the same time without having massive setbacks with headaches, numbness and tingling, confusion. So the prescriptions were coming from the neurologist. Well, take this, this will help you. Take this, this will help you. And they weren't really helping me. So I had to choose. Am I gonna be #1 lacrosse mom, or am I gonna be #1 Rex employee? Obviously, I'm gonna choose mom. Although now he's 20 and I'm really bored and I have nothing to do because it's not about practice and dinner and lunch and play dates anymore, but that's okay. So I came out of work all the way, and that was fine, and I built a new life. The whole aneurysm situation and the medical situation and the recovery situation and the caregiver situation played a big part in the separation of my husband and myself, which is okay, that's fine. You do you boo-boo, I'll do me boo-boo, and we'll be fine. We still get along, we're very cordial to each other, which is fine. So, let's see. Separation, my house, I sold my house in 2016, it's gone. But I did just buy my house all by myself in September of last year, so I was really happy about that. So I built a new life. I have a new life, I have a new outlook on my life, I'm living my life, I'm doing my thing, I'm doing my follow-up treatments, which are a brain scan once a year, okay, with Duke. Because even though Duke royally screwed up my care, they're also still the #1 brain surgery hospital in my area. So what choice do I have, right? Where am I gonna go? Am I gonna go to UNC? They're not really known for their brain stuff. I only got one brain. Even though it's kind of jilted, I still only got one. So I go to Duke every year for an annual scan, and about 6 years ago, we found another aneurysm that was just kind of stable, just kind of hanging out, not doing much. Well, this year, it had shown on the scan that it had grown. It wasn't very big, it was 2 millimeters. 2 millimeter aneurysm doesn't mean much to my neurosurgeon. I mean, it means you gotta look, you gotta watch, but it doesn't mean go, 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 okay? So his approach was, we're gonna scan you every 3 months, take a look at it and see if it grows. If it grows to 3 millimeters, we're gonna coil it. Coil is another option, a surgical option for a brain aneurysm. They go right up through like they do an angiogram or a verapamil ball, and they inject these wire coils into the aneurysm itself to try to prevent more blood flow to the aneurysm, to prolong the aneurysm from growing too much or too large. That has about an 83% success rate, the coils do. And an aneurysm can hold multiple coils, it's not one. Depending on the size of the aneurysm, you can have 25, 30 coils in an aneurysm. So it just depends on what you and your doctor think is the best procedure for you. So he wanted to wait and do the scan every 3 months, and I couldn't do it. You remember the dark place he was telling you I was stuck in for a year? I just bought that new house, right? I've got a new lease on life, right? I'm living my life, I'm happy, right? You gotta talk to the neurosurgeon, your aneurysm's growing. It took everything I could not to fall to my knees in the kitchen when I got that information that day. And it ripped my spirit apart. I couldn't drive to the grocery store. I didn't want to be alone. I was afraid that if it ruptured, that was going to be the end of me, and I already knew what a ruptured one could do, and I really didn't want to go through that again, and I'm trying to explain this to my surgeon. You know, my quality of life is taking a really big hit. Well, statistically, I hate that word, it's not likely to grow. Statistically, it's not likely to rupture. But what about my bleed history? What about that bleed history? I already have one that's ruptured, and I don't want to do that again. Well, if it's a quality of life thing, we can go ahead and we can clip it, if that's really what you want to do. But no, that's the most riskiest procedure you can take. Okay, I understand, but I can't live my life this way knowing that this invasion is happening again. So I told him that I wanted to have it clipped. Well, I had a TIA, like I said, in December. And when that happened, they thought maybe she's got a hole in her heart. Well, now neurosurgery won't touch me until I get cleared by cardiology, so now I gotta live with this aneurysm in my brain and the possibility if she has a hole in her heart. So come January, they did a TEE, they ruled out there's absolutely no hole in my heart, everything's good, you have cardiac clearance. Well, I was due for my next scan in February, so why rush? Okay. So we do the scan in February, it comes back stable, it hasn't grown, it hasn't moved. I'm still not able to be alone or to drive my car or to do anything. So my boyfriend says to me, why don't you look for a second opinion? Well, I've already been to Rex. I've already been to Duke. I've already been to UNC. Who am I gonna go to? No, I'm not gonna go to state. I don't need agriculture brain. So he goes, well, go out of state. That never even dawned on me. Not once did that dawn on me on my own, go out of state. So we Googled the best neurosurgery hospital in the country, and it's Mayo Clinic in Rochester, New York. It is. It is. I believe they just won that again this year. And Jacksonville is second. Their Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, I believe, is second place.
Florida or North Carolina?
Florida. So let's do it. If you're gonna do it again, you might as well go to the #1 hospital in the country if you have the ability to do it. Thankfully, I did. So I sent all of my medical records over to Mayo, all of the, aneurysm brain stuff. They got bombarded. It was like 10 years, 20 years worth of stuff. They called me and said, hey, we want to get you in for an appointment to see the the vascular neurologist and the neurosurgeon. We'll do it the same day because you're traveling 1,000 miles to come see us. Well, what are we going to do in those appointments? Well, you'll know when you get here. They can't really tell you what they're going to do until they meet you and make sure everything else is good. I'm traveling 1,000 miles. Like, I have a kid, I have a home, I have 2 dogs. I got to make sure, do I need to bring my support team with me? What are we doing? Well, we really don't know. And this is, the people that call you for scheduling, and they don't. Honestly, they don't know what they're going to do. So I said, could you just leave a message